Thank you very much. Good evening, UNC family here and who are tuned in to our virtual once again. Let me thank Viliana for that very powerful introduction. I've shared with you before some of my favorite introductions, and some of you may remember it, but I'll share it again with you. When I was Minister of Education, I would have to attend many school graduations, or I wanted to as well. So I would go to the schools and go to the graduations. And one year I went to a particular school, and the teachers and the students there, they decided they will not have an adult person introduce me. They will get one of his students. Well, now it's what SEA does, it was common entrance. So 11 plus old boy comes up to the stage. He says, "My job here is very simple. All I have to do is introduce Kamla. But I am not going to make a long, boring speech. I will now introduce you to the person who will, Kamla Prasad Visasa." I have never forgotten that, but the courage and the bravery of the young man always brings a smile to my face. So Viliana, thank you. Let us all thank Councillor Adrian for sharing with us. Thank all the powerful speakers on the lineup tonight, and I think Wade Mack has, boy, he's going forward. He ain't going backward. He's going reverted, but he just gone clear. Talking about Mars and Saturn and Venus and whatever. Well done, Wade. Well done, Anita. Well done, Ravi Ratiram. And well done, MP Rushton Parry. Thank you all very much. So, good to be here with you. There's so many issues when we come on a Monday virtual to talk about that we do have to select some of them. And today, there's several things I want to share with you, so bear with me. Last Monday, I took some personal time off. And to all those people who are trolling, saying, "Amir, listen, I am here, I'm strong, Kamla is here, and my health is fine. Worry about your own health. I am fine. Thank you very much." Right now, we are witnessing across the globe where nations, the people of nations, are holding their leaders to account. We are seeing it in England, which was really the mother of all parliaments there, where we took our pattern and precedence from. And then we saw in Sri Lanka, where again, the members of the country are holding their leaders to account. And this is a lesson for all leaders and for all governments. Governments must be held accountable. Those who represent the public interest must be held responsible for their actions. And today now in 2022, we see our nation is more unsafe, more crime. We see that we are poorer than we have ever been. I think Rushton gave us the statistics about $8 per day and how many thousands of our people are living at about $8 per day. And I thought when I'm listening to him, hey, some living on $0 a day. So 8 is the mean, the average. You know what does that mean? An average, you take the highest, the lowest, you add them together and you divide. So what happens, there's a skewing. If you have some very high up, that skews it and you get $8 a day. So many is $1 or no dollar at all per day. The poverty levels are never as high as they have been today. We see from Anita's contributions about what's happening in our schools, a total failing education sector, clueless, visionless in terms of caring for our children. If there's one thing you know, even before I led our government, even before, under the Pandey government, education was a priority. Education for children was a priority. We had the motto, not one child to be left behind. You all remember that? And not one child was ever left behind. Not one. Not one. And now we are seeing what is happening. I'm sure Ravi would have spoken about agriculture, and the Prime Minister today in his clueless, waffling and waste of time press conference wants to talk about agriculture. When we in the opposition called for us to do more in agriculture, what did he tell us? We don't have the land. Where did you find the land now, Mr. Rory, talking about agriculture? And when people talk to ask him, well, listen, you talk about agriculture, and the farmers are saying they are getting no help. Did you know what that man said? He said, well, we are so much better with technology now, you know. We have a dry season, and we have a rainy season. So we know when the rains come in. So what we must do then? The farmers must go pull out their plants out of the ground because they know the rain coming. Clueless, visionless, and incompetent government. So all our speakers here and Wade, of course, dealing with that very corrupt regime where some are enriching themselves, their friends and their family, and I'll come back to that in a while. Everyone in our country now, apart from whom, the friends and the family and the finances, everyone else is worse off today than ever before. And what is the reason? If you are to believe Rowley, first of all, blame Kamala, did it again today, blame the UNC, blame Kamala, and he's added to that, blame now the war in Ukraine, blame the COVID, blame everybody else except his own incompetence and the incompetence of his government. That is the answer to everything. And that's the simple reason we hear a war on the working men and women of our country by a very corrupt, ignorant, and uncaring government. And you know, this man is so petty. He totes a grudge, he totes feelings 50 years after the fact. And therefore, are you surprised? His big answer when we thought today he would help us put out a plan to deal with ever-increasing crime, he comes with a 1979 concept of what is it, a public health emergency. And when he's asked, well, what do you specifically want to do? The man waffle and waffle and waffle. But are you surprised? Don't be surprised, and I'll tell you why. This is a man who stood before the nation today. And he said, with respect to the procurement legislation, he says we are, listen carefully, don't get it mixed up, we are dotting the T's and crossing the I's. We are dotting the T's and crossing the I's. When I heard that, I said, good Lord, all hope has gone. Because that's what he did for the entire press conference. He was dotting non-existent T's and what? Crossing I's. Run the video for me, guys. Let's hear
the very last disappointment I've had is that just as we were about to proclaim it on this very last attempt, it happened to have been the time when a new Attorney General came into office, completely separate and apart from this. One of the first assignments I gave that Attorney General was to ensure that we are in a position to have this piece of legislation proclaimed, because we had come to the point where we think we had dotted as many T's and crossed as many I's and so on.
So our Prime Minister is dotting T's and crossing I's. Are you surprised that we are in a mess that we are in today when he can stand there and say that to the nation? And 7 years later, procurement legislation, you are saying you are dotting the T's and crossing the I's still 7 years later? And he says those naysayers who are saying that the government and the finances are benefiting from not having procurement legislation, that's not true. Instead, he says, we have procurement legislation. Good God, this thing goes back decades, the CTB. All the corruption under that regime. That's why this new procurement legislation was put forward, not by me. It was under my government, but we took all the drafts that were there before, put forward by the Joint Consultative Council, people in the industry and in the construction sector and so on, brought this forward. And 7 years later, you still dotting T's and crossing I's. And then who does he blame? The new Attorney General. He said, well, we just get a new Attorney General. Yeah, so far as 7 years, 6 years couldn't do it. The new one now, he wants to take another 7. But he will not get 7 years inside here. We have to make sure he goes. He goes. He has to go. He has to go. And I'll come back to Mr. Amo in a while. What we have in this country, and we have to understand it so we will know the work we have to do, what we must do and how we must unite to get this country working again. A few months ago when we started the People's Revolution, we had sought in a peaceful way to educate and inform you, as well as the national community, about injustice, about unfairness, about abuse of power, and about favoritism that has and continues to undermine our so-called independent institutions of the state. We call out the independent centers, you remember that, for not being independent. We had rallied against their bias towards or for the ruling party. We had called them out. And I saw something happen with the bail amendment bill recently in the Senate, where some independent senators actually voted against that draconian bail law that they wanted to bring in. Some voted against. Some voted for it, but they did not get the majority that they needed to pass it, so it's not law. But my concern is this. We have a new session of Parliament starting in September. Parliament is now in recess. And my question is this, that those who voted against that bill, whether President, what's her name again? Paula May Weeks, Her Excellency, whether Raul will go to President's house and instruct her to remove them as senators in the Senate. He did it with the Police Service Commission. He did it with Gary Griffith. And today when they asked him about Gary Griffith, he said, I'm not talking about that. I don't want to talk about that. He said, there's a commission in place and they will do their job. I have nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. But the last time you had everything to do with it when you went to President's house and instructed Bliss Sipasad, chairman of that commission, to remove the list. Take it and don't send it back to the Parliament. So we call out those independent senators before. And for those who had the guts and the gravitas, last time I spoke, I said, I wonder if they have the gravitas to resist the temptations of P&M pressure. And some of them did. One of them who came to vote never took part in the debate. He was a temporary senator for that sitting only when the vote was to be taken. His name is Drayton, something Drayton. He never was there for the debate. He just came to vote. And he was replacing whom? A fellow named Senator Vera. I don't know if Senator Vera gave him the instructions how to vote before he left. So Vera wouldn't be the one in there for us to call him out again. And I don't know if he was selected to go in there to cast the vote for the government on that day. There's another one who voted for it with the government. That senator, I am told she belongs to Bishop's Tea Party with all the Bishop's girls, one of whom is Paula May Weeks. Another Bishop's girl is Camille. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll leave the spouse out of somebody at the moment. When I double check it, I'll let you know. And another one who voted for it with the government, voted for the government, with the government on that draconian law. That's one who had some serious questions to answer about relationships in Tobago with a particular financier of the P&M. So you saw the lines. And this is where I want to talk to you about the fairy tale, about the emperor and his new clothes. Many of us grew up reading that in the West Indian Reader and so on. That story was about what we call here, eater food mentality, where you get a position, you get a temporary title, you get a bus route pass, you get access to a cocktail party circuit. People will tell a naked emperor, he looking good in no clothes at all. That's what we have in this country now. A few months ago, we had warned that we had gone into a dark age where the lights of reason, truth, and rationality have been extinguished by pirates, by bandits, by smooth con men who have taken over and infected almost every arm of our state. Our country has now gone backwards, very far backwards, into a kind of feudal society where one small and privileged set of persons, they live off the work and labor of an oppressed majority. We are in a constitutional dictatorship where the Prime Minister is a new king, dispensing favors to his selected aristocracy, the lords and ladies of the P&M aristocracy, friends, family, and financiers. We have a ruling elite that is rotten and corrupt to the core. And what is even more concerning is that this ruling elite has now taken upon itself to bend and twist universal standards of behavior in public life just because it is convenient to them and allows them to eat more food. Then we have a few public commentators. You have to really wonder, They are part of this eater food ruling elite. For many years, they have led public opinion. That is until we got social media. Sometimes I wonder where they live. Maybe in one of those planets we'd call, but not in Trinidad and Tobago. It is amazing that with so much wrong here, they take the time and the words to write about their travels, about issues in other countries. They write about anything other than direct and robust criticism of what is taking place. And you see this feudalism, where our society is divided first class, second class, has been around since colonialism. And the PNM has developed this over the years of the PNM aristocrats. That is what has been ingrained now in our country. If you are part of that ruling elite, you may get away with anything, and your eater food friends will stand up and defend you. Some agents in the media will block for you, and other institutions will not investigate and will not prosecute you. As they say, one rule for them and one rule for everybody else. That is the PNM aristocracy now. Second-class citizens can go to hell as far as they are concerned. They are judged by different standards and are made to wait, to pay, to suffer and endure. And we have to ask, was this the democratic society we set out to forge in 1962? And I turn now to another set of eater food people. I'm sorry I have to use it, but this is like the URP of lawyers now. You know, you have CPEP and you have URP. Well, we have CPEP and URP lawyers in this country. What a shame and disgrace. I witnessed with others on Friday when the Law Association debated a motion of no confidence in Limo, Reggie Limo. Let me say a few words on that meeting. I listened virtually. I am a member of the Law Association, as all lawyers who pay their fees and dues were entitled to attend virtually. I know that the numbers of attorneys who attended was far less than the total number of lawyers we have in the country. Only about 18%, 18 about, attended that meeting. And out of that, 551 persons actually voted whether for or against. These figures show there is apathy and disinterest in the legal profession on important issues. All politics aside, this is a matter of some concern. A strong, vibrant bar supports the rule of law in any country. And today, I want to take this opportunity to commend the brave young lawyers who stood up for justice and the rule of law by bringing this motion of no confidence in disgrace Reggie Limo. In particular, Kyle Taklal Singh and Renuka Rambajan and the team as a whole. I want to thank them for standing up for the rule of law. The vote may not have gone your way, but those of you who spoke and voted on this motion, you can hold your heads high and be proud because you did the right thing. You see, all the others who groveled to Amor and to the PNM in that meeting, they know they have made fools of themselves. Like Amor, they know they no longer have any credibility in the eyes of the younger and the larger group of lawyers in the public. When the transcript of that meeting becomes public, all of TNT will know the truth of what happened, of how supposedly senior counsels embarrassed themselves in their desperation to eat a food. All of Trinidad and Tobago will be laughing at these men. For me, it was hysterical and hilarious to see these seniors and board appointees lining up one after the other to grovel. One by one, these PNM senior counsels and board members resorted to becoming grovelers and beggars to save their money train from the AG and from the government. I was in the presence of young lawyers when we were looking at this virtual meeting, and during the meeting there was raucous laughter from them, but not in a joyous manner, but to see how these persons grovel and demean themselves, persons whom the younger lawyers see as seniors. As someone explained, when you talk about a senior, you don't call them by name, you address them as senior. And there's a reason for that. That's the highest accolade that you can get in the legal profession as a senior. And these young lawyers, looking at this, were most distressed We saw a creepy-looking young lawyer, no, not so young lawyer, I think his name was Barrett, not that Barrett, another Barrett. This guy had a little pocket square in his pocket, dressed up like he going to a wedding or a funeral. And you know what he did to defend Amo? He gave a hysterical lecture on the size of European hotel rooms as one of the reasons why Amo couldn't remember what he should remember and what he should have put in the affidavit. That he was in this little hotel room somewhere wherever he was on vacation. That was the most cringeworthy presentation of the lot. Another one said he couldn't remember when he got sick. But he remembered that Reggie Limo is a great man. He's a good boy. And many of them, good boy. I wonder how many defendants will go before court today or tomorrow or next week and say, and bring people to come and say, he was a good boy, he's a good boy. Look, he come and beg for forgiveness. Forgive him now, let him go. When is that going to happen? How is it going to happen? One law for them and one law for everybody else. Which defendant can stand before a magistrate's court or a judge and go to say, well, my Lord, I'm so sorry. Your Honor, I am so sorry. Look, I have Tahaka here. He knows me from 100 years ago. And Tahaka comes and says, my Lord, this is a good boy. He's a good boy. Let's forgive him and leave him and let him go. Good boy. Good boy. When you have done such a disgraceful thing, bringing the legal profession, the justice, bringing us into international dispute, locally, regionally, all across the globe, an attorney general who goes and lies on oath, and then what you do, say, good boy, it's okay, don't worry, you're a good boy. I know you, we went to school together. Yeah, good boy, good boy, good boy. And I say, these men shame themselves as beggars, and now you have so many people laughing at them. I always knew many of these seniors had no self-respect. But today I thank them for exposing themselves to the entire legal profession as the grovelers and eater food that they truly are. And I say this not lightly, I'll present the evidence to show the extent of the food that they have been eating at the trough of the PNM. I said this to the Law Association, please make the transcripts of that meeting available to members as soon as possible. Let the public see how these big men had no self-respect and made a laughing stock, each of them, of himself or herself. And the whole thing is that, you know, you all may not know, but sometimes birdies drop little things in your air. Sometimes people drop things in your mailbox. It was that Limo saying he was humble. He was humble. I regret it. I did a misrepresentation. I regret it, you know. I'm sorry. He spent the whole week, he and his friends, begging his friends and PNM State Board appointees to force people to vote for him on Friday. That's what they were doing. They were lobbying like it was an election campaign. Many of the young lawyers who voted for Limo told us that they were forced to do so because the PNM was taking names of those who were present and they were afraid of losing their jobs. Limo, please don't pretend. We know the truth. Everyone is laughing at you and your friends. In my mind, therefore, Limo is not off the hook by any means. He is not off the hook. Your friends in the legal profession will prepare to embarrass themselves to save you and their briefs, but you are still accountable to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Not one of those who spoke said anything about what they were getting from government. So you want to know? You want me to tell you tonight? Let me tell you. Michael Kwamena, Speaker in favor of Limo. State briefs 2015 to 21, $3.9 million. Prime Minister's personal lawyer. RHA briefs 2015 to 21, $167,000. Trinidad Petroleum Holding Limited, Chairman. Petrotrin, Chairman. Heritage Petroleum, Chairman. Caribbean Airlines, Deputy Chairman. And personal lawyer of Prime Minister Rowley. You understand when I tell you about the friends and the family and the eater food persons who had no shame in publicly talking before all those lawyers, groveling and begging to continue to eat our food. Gilbert Peterson, State Briefs, 2015 to 2021, $10.3 million. Chairman of the Legal Aid Authority, Chairman of TAT, lawyer for Paria Commission of Inquiry, fuel bunkering contract. You all understand when I say there's an aristocracy, there's a P&M aristocracy, and when they're crying they can't find money to pay the workers, public servants, they can't find money to subsidize the fuel. Look where your money going. That's your money. That is public money. Your taxpayers' dollars. And if you don't pay tax, that is public money. It's not P&M fiefdom to give out to their friends and their family. Let's move on. Russell Martineau. Russell Martineau, man. I had so much respect for the senior counsel as a young person then. As a younger person then, coming up in the profession, we look at him with awe. Russell Martineau spoke there in favor of Limo. State Briefs, 2015 to 2021, $17.8 million. You understand? The fellow with the pocket in his, the square in the pocket. Terence Barrett, State Briefs, 2015 to 21. $794,475. Legal fees from RHAs, $690,000 and more, over $690,000. What is he? Chairman of Angostura, self-proclaimed friend of Mr. Amo. Colin Kangaloo, partner at Fitzwilliam Stone, Furnace Smith and Morgan. Not only is a brother of Senate President Christine Kangaloo, but that firm that he works at received State Briefs 15 to 21, $1.192 million. You understand? You understand what went on there? Singing for their supper. We know we are not downturn in economy. Everybody's monies are going down, but they know one people they could get work from is who? From the government, and they will pay. So they went there to sing for their supper, to sing for their briefs, to eat their food, to grovel and beg. Ravi Rajkumar, State Briefs. This is Ravi Rajkumar. State Briefs 15 to 21. TT $5.3 million. Ravi Nanga, another Ravi. State Briefs 2015 to 21. 499,000, over 499,000. RHA Briefs. You know what is RHA? You'll understand? Regional Health Authorities. $4.8 million. And chairman of WASA. Chairman appointed by whom? All these board chairman and so on? By this government. Romney Thomas belongs to the firm Hobson's. They got in State Briefs 2015 to 21, $876.8 thousand. And he is the former chairman of WASA. Farai Hove, I don't want to mispronounce his name, but I think you all know the young man. Masai. Thank you, Taka and Brian. He's the personal lawyer of Foster Cummins. He has been paid millions from CPEP, and he's a founding member of the Heliconia Foundation. So this and more I share with you tonight, so we will understand the travesty that took place on Friday. And that vote, as I say, does not exonerate Mr. Limo. So we expect Senator Armon to be honorable. In mature democracies, he would have done the honorable thing. He should have given up his resignation. But not here. We have a system here where the P&M, state offices, they feel it's personal property. People feel they're entitled to hold these positions, to operate our institutions like their own royal estates. That is not what a republic is supposed to be. And so I say we are truly in a dark age when lawyers find a way to justify unethical conduct. Can you imagine where we've gone when these senior lawyers have gone so far to protect their briefs? And for a brief position, for a board position, for a contract, maybe even for Fed tickets or for tickets in the grandstand up at the Savannah, that's how it works. This is the aristocracy of the PNM. That is the point I'm making to you. And we must unite to work to get them out of our country. Get them out. We must work. So we then witnessed this clueless press conference where the man was dotting the T's and crossing the I's. He came today more buff, playing victim at the expense of the nation. He even came and accused me of stopping him, the opposition, from stopping them from improving the health service. Now, this is the same man who said that Trinidad and Tobago has the best health care in the Commonwealth. But every time he's sick, where are you going? California. But we have the best. One for him and another standard for everyone else. Now he's saying it's my fault, healthcare is bad. I want to remind him that under my watch, we built 5 hospitals in the country. I want to remind him that. Thanks, Senator Julian John, Dr. Munilal with his ministry. We built these 5 hospitals. The Couva Hospital, the San Fernando Teaching Hospital, Arima and Point Fortin, and we finished the Scarborough Hospital in Tobago. We've taken that too. We take credit for that. Then he came today and boasted about foreign reserves. They so distort and cherry pick things. They just throw out things and expect you to gobble it up. But we have a good team in the UNC, and they did some fact checking for us. So he's boasting we have foreign exchange now for what? 8 months or something. When I left, we had foreign reserves for almost 12 months, 1 year, when we left office. He boasted about foreign reserve. He didn't tell you that he has brought our foreign reserves down. When the PNM came into office September 2015, we had left net official reserves of 10.459 billion US. That is 71.12 billion TT dollars. That's what he left. Remember, they always say we left the treasury empty, we run away with the money, we fill it in a yellow van, I think it was. All the lies, all the lies. And what has happened now? Almost 1 year of import cover. And then when they came in after 7 years, Imbert and Rowley, the most recent data from Central Bank, says net foreign reserves as of June 2022 now, just a couple of weeks ago, has collapsed by $3.8 billion US. What do you know what collapse mean? Dropped down by almost $25.84 billion. Now stands at 6.7 US billion, TT 45.9 billion. So where that money went? Where has all that money gone? What did you do with all that foreign reserves? We want an answer from you. You must answer. While this has been happening, the foreign debt, foreign currency debt, increasing and increasing and increasing every day. That is debt we have to pay in foreign currency. Under this government, there have been no new initiatives to generate foreign exchange projects or to generate any revenue streams, any new ones, or to create any jobs. So sometimes if we don't laugh, say we'll cry. This man spent a weekend retreat, and the only thing he'd say afterwards is Kamala's fault for everything. I would like to ask, how much did you pay for that retreat? What did you achieve in that retreat? From your press conference today, absolutely nothing was achieved. But I'll tell you what they discussed. Somebody put this in my mailbox. Several MPs have been telling me, multiple MPs telling me, this is what happened. 1, they doubled down on the Prime Minister's defense of the Attorney General. Big up himself. The PM defends his ministers, they are untouchable. 2, they pointed out that budget 2023 is due and we are getting an election budget. 3, big up for young, for the amount of work and investment in the energy sector and in serving TNT. What work he did, what investment? Except through his brother that Mark told you about, that went out, didn't come in. 4, discuss local government election is due soon. 2 corporations need shoring up. Sandy Grande, see our San Grande crosses here, take note. And San Fernando, take note. They refer to a committee previously established which had reported weaknesses in several seats and asked the ministers and the committee to identify work in those areas that needed to be done and to expedite it. To use employment, create employment and small contractors from the area as a priority. Songs like what? Election hearing taking place. Asked MPs to send recommendations to Faris for projects in the targeted areas in Sandy Grande and in San Fernando. Active parliamentary session expected. MPs and ministers urged to ensure attendance in the various committees. Noted that while occupation of their chairs has improved, some MPs continue to spend more time in the 2-room and God knows where else than inside the chamber. Inviting persons speaking to always highlight when the other side's benches are empty, especially when the leader of opposition is not in a seat, and speculate why. Commended the AG on spotlighting physical weakness of one MP opposite. I think that was me. You remember that when he said he's worried for my health? Why didn't he worry for his Prime Minister's health, who was missing for 1 month out of the country? So, yes. So listen, highlight. When they're talking, they must highlight when any one of my members is not in their seat. Speculate why. Commending the AG for spotlighting. So imagine this was a topic to say when Khadija not in her seat, or when Anita not in his seat, or Ravi, or whoever not in their seat. You think they were meeting on this retreat? Crime gone wild, prices gone wild, education sector mash up, economy mash up, and that's what they're talking about? What pettiness is this? And you are saying you are governing this country, only petty behavior in the retreat. This guy is like, it's just like little children playing with the lives of the citizens of this country. Said that they were disappointed in information being provided to the communication team. Well, I don't know what that means. They cautioned certain MPs seem to be unsure to which side of the aisle they want to sit, and reminded them that those people want your job. They are the enemy. One ministers and MPs more aggressive in promoting their work and that of their colleagues. Meeting scheduled for the next 2 months finalized. Constituencies to be heavily mobilized. If numbers are small, he will not be attending. To their retreat. There's more, you can see by red, I took out some of it. There's more. So when we take these fellas down to serious business in this retreat, this is what was going on. And I believe that's what they did, because when we listened to that press conference today, there was nothing coming out of it, okay? He talked about a mask, removing the mask, putting on back the mask, Vike policy making, don't know if he's going or if he's coming. He talked about crime. He came back with this rubbish about declaring a public health emergency as a plan to combat crime. You know the man, what he did? He just copied an internet talking point. And I don't know if and he threw it out to the public. And I don't know if anyone told him that is a 1979 concept that the CDC came up with in the United States. Threw it out here. When questioned by reporters there, he couldn't give one specific thing about what to be done, who to be done. And he talked about a committee, etc. Another committee that they come here, the Roadmap to Recovery Committee. There are so many committees. What happened with the committee to develop the action plan based on the Judy Jones report? What has happened to that? So when smack hits in their face, or somebody will use a different word, and it hits the fan, they come up with a committee, and then boil down for a little bit, and then nothing more. So that's the grand idea, to stop the wave of violence in our country. Copy and paste from the internet. People are living in fear. People are being gunned down. People are being robbed. Homes are being broken into. Women and children are being killed today. We need solutions now, not another committee to go off into the sunset and we never hear from them again. As I say, how many Mama Guy committees he has formed. He talked about the subsidy now, the fuel subsidy. Now I'm sitting, why are you talking about the fuel subsidy? In April this year, the Minister of Finance made a statement in the Parliament about the fuel subsidy. And he talked about 840 million being the amount that might be needed. He has to adjust the subsidy, what is the word, recalibrate, whatever it is, to bring down the amount that we have to spend because we don't have the money, we don't have the money to pay the subsidies, we only have so much money, we have to decide. We have to share the burden. Exact words, share the burden. Talked about it. And strange thing happened. Once it is that it was recalibrated in April by the Minister of Finance, why are you making this announcement that you are going to put a cap on the amount of subsidy that the government will be responsible? Why? Why would you do that? In one view, Tax shared with me, it's like a non-announcement. It's not an announcement. Because you had already said from April, it's only 840, and if you put in a cap of 1 billion, well, you're okay, you're inside. So that's one explanation, non-announcement. But it had me thinking, why would he take the time to talk about it over and over? And he spoke at length over the cap, and he also talked about the flow, which I don't fully understand. Maybe the economists can help me with that. So why did he do it? So I'm calling again for them to tell the country whether it is from the forecasting that the price of fuel will increase because the price of oil will continue to increase. They had calibrated on a $95 per barrel and came up with this 840 million in April when he recalibrated or whatever he did, reduce the amount of subsidy. Today he told us they're going to cap it, the fuel subsidy at 1 billion. What does that mean? For those of us who have seen price increases only 2 months ago, what does it mean for citizens who have seen flour increase by 33%, oil by whatever percent? It is higher fuel prices yet again on a suffering population. Is that what is going to happen? April 8th, I mentioned it before, Imbert stated the fuel subsidy at the price of US $95 a barrel, government would have to subsidize to the tune of $1.69 billion. Minister Imbert went on to state that this was unsustainable, and therefore he raised the price of fuel. Do you remember that? I think that was the 4th time they have raised it. 4 times? Yes. Based on those new prices at April 8, he then presented a subsidy estimate of 840 million, which is just under $1 billion. It must be emphasized that these price adjustments, he said, will require government subsidy of about 840 million in fiscal 2022. So I ask these questions on behalf of citizens. In the event the average oil prices surpass the $95 average that he has told us, a barrel, and the estimate surpass for the subsidy is over the 1 billion, what's going to happen? The price at the pump is going to rise. Why did he spend so much time about the cap? Because he said, well, you know, the US doing something to bring down fuel prices, so the fuel prices will come down, you know. Never mind the war and thing, you know, prices went up, but it's going to come down. So the 1 billion should be enough to cover it. No, Mr. Prime Minister, you're being less than honest to the country. And you took that time today, and I am saying to our country that they are coming again for more fuel price hikes that you will have to pay at the pump. They keep us forced on how much they have to spend, and then not take the focus off from the fact that it's your taxpayers' dollars that they will be using for the subsidy and others, because tax revenue, general revenue comes in. This cost is going to be forced on consumers at the pump. So are they once again going to be abandoning citizens without any protection from rising fuel prices? Young boasted on CNN about more revenue coming into the country. Yet the government has subjected citizens to higher fuel prices. Where has that extra oil and gas revenue gone? He lied about the refinery. Someone asked him, we had talks about selling this refinery. So what's happening with that deal? He said, well, it looks like it may not work out, so we'll have to move on. So nothing soon. But listen, when they asked him, he said, listen, you cannot ask that in a vacuum, When you ask about refinery, you have to remember that the refinery was running at a loss, that we had to import oil, crude oil, to use in the refinery to refine. I don't know how many barrels per day he said we have to import, and the refinery was running at a loss, a waste of time. Shut down the refinery. Shut it down. Not knowing that was not only just those workers at the refinery be impacted and their families. We have seen now the repercussions for Lake Asphalt, because we have no bitumen, and that was their main product. They have absolutely no revenue coming in whatsoever. Shut it down, clueless, visionless. And then, Prime Minister, I'm asking you a question. How much is Paria paying now to import refined products? How much? You were crying that you were running at a loss in the refinery because you had to import crude. Prime Minister, do you know in Singapore, they have not one drop of oil in Singapore. And Singapore is one of the largest refinery sites. Amongst the largest refining is a place that deals in these refined products and so on. So one, they had no oil, so there was nothing wrong in a model where we had some crude oil, but we had plant, we had assets in the refinery. There was nothing wrong in importing crude and refining, so you have value added onto it, which we could then sell for foreign exchange. Now what we have to do? We have to buy the refined products. At what prices? Foreign currency, high prices, to bring them here. That making any sense? Not making any sense. You have killed the industry and you have killed the livelihoods of so many people. The Trinidad Guardian of 20th May 2022 reported documents obtained through the FOIA by the OWTU showed Paria spent an average of US $1.16 billion per annum on fuel imports. $1.16 billion US dollars to import the refined products. When it would have been us, now prices are rising for the oil, would have been making more forex selling oil. When the refined products prices are going up, that should have been a windfall and a benefit to us. Instead, from the high prices, what has happened? We lose and lose more. So he lied when he said that the refinery was running at a loss, but he didn't come to tell us the greater loss that we are running at now when we have to spend $1.16 billion on fuel coming from abroad. This is more than what Petrogen spent on importing the crude oil to produce products which we sold here and on the local market and in the CARICOM and other places as well. So you shut down the refinery to spend more money on importing fuel. Prime Minister, again, another case of dotting the T's and crossing the I's. Nonsense, total foolishness. The hundreds of millions spent to import fuel, you could have spent to protect the fuel subsidy. That could have been used to reduce the cost of living. You came today to say he wants to enact procurement legislation. This disgraced Attorney General is saying he shouldn't do it. And it begs the question, this is the same disqualified AG who lied on an affidavit in a Miami court and begged for forgiveness. He says, we have procurement. He said, people telling you again, meaning us always, the opposition, but we have no procurement legislation in the country. Yes, we have. Of course we have, but it's decades old. I started telling you that. There's an important thing in that part of procurement that is not contained in that old legislation, which was very important to include in this new legislation that we have. 7 years and counting, and they're still dotting T's and crossing I's and can't put it and then say they don't benefit, they don't benefit, they don't benefit. Because people say the PNM benefited. No, we don't. 7 years later, what is not in the existing procurement legislation is what is known as disposal of state property. And that is so important at this time. The refinery is state property. The procurement law has nothing existing about how you're going to go about choosing who you're going to sell it to, how you'll sell it, why, where, what criteria. The procurement law that was passed by us, still sitting there 7 years later, that they will not proclaim, will deal with like privatization of the Port of Port of Spain, will deal with all the state assets up in Point-a-Pierre, all those bungalows and all the lands and the golf courses and all the state property that you cannot just pick it up and give it to your friends and your financiers and give it to the family and that P&M aristocracy, that there would be the rules to protect the people's assets. That is the patrimony of Trinidad and Tobago. So he says we have procurement. 7 years later, still cannot get it done. And then now I want to show you that whilst they cry they have no money, so they can't pay the back pay to the workers, and the man so foolish and dotish, saying he can't pay the workers because he have a big back pay to pay them. Well, how they get the back pay in the first place? If you had upgraded them and paid them each year, you wouldn't have a 7-year back pay backlog. You wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have it. So whilst you see in trouble catching your nennen, as we say, food prices going up, fuel going up, everything going up, everything going up. Let me show something with you that we got from the Cabinet of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, based on an FOIA from that legal luminary, Ravi Balgowin Maharaj. Let's give her a round of applause. He's prolific when it comes to freedom of information. And this was, he asked for a list of members of Cabinet. He recused themselves from Cabinet meetings for the period 9th September 2015 to 1st February 2022. We had shared some of this with you before, but now it's updated up to February of this year. Can I tell you the total number of recusals, number of times ministers of this government recused themselves? I'll tell you that in a minute, but let us fully understand why they had to recuse themselves. And this is where we say there's a conflict of interest. And the conflict of interest means that they're considering some matter, some contract, some matter to take place that will impact on a friend or a family of the minister. It is usually a relative, a family member that these recusals were done for. The total is 265 recusals. 265 recusals. And the chief offender is none other than the all-purpose minister himself, Stuart Young. Number of recusals, 98 recusals. 98 recusals. When you add up 98 recusals and consider how many cabinet meetings they had, you'll see what was going on. This man, as you say, more outside than inside the cabinet. The second run-up, or first run-up, is Faris Al-Rawi, 58 recusals. So they're using this like a private enterprise to give out contracts, to give out things. Wayne Mark read some for you tonight with the FCB matters, or is it the other one? The Jamaican company that Mr. Young's brother is in. Faris is about properties and so on, most of them. But also a very strange one that he recused himself because they wanted to waiver some VAT and some taxes on an imaging machine. So I don't know if Faris have some shares in some hospital somewhere as well, or his family. So 265 will not go through the entire list, but this is disgraceful and shameful. And it's not sufficient to come to say it is legal to recuse yourself when matters affecting benefits for you and your family come up in the cabinet. This is where your money is going. When they're crying, they don't have money to take care of the children, to give them laptops, to take care of the medical and needs of people, all the things they cry they don't have money for. This is where your money is going. 265 recusals. And by the way, Mr. Rowley, you're not off the hook. Let me find out here. Less, but at least 8 recusals up to that date of Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley. So they're all in this business. It's a boys' club going on inside there. You walk out, you walk in, yes, you don't have the money. And you don't want procurement legislation, that's why I jumped off onto this. You 7 years, you will not have the procurement legislation because you all could continue to give yourself, pat each other in the back, boys' club, and help yourselves to the money of the state of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And whilst and whilst we talk about money, I want to raise another matter before I close. Several matters, but I think we had enough for tonight. I want to ask Rowley and his government where the COVID money went. Where did COVID funding go? He is the only Prime Minister in our history. He has built nothing. He's improved nothing, but has spent billions of dollars. This is a man who attacked the UNC for building a highway for the people of the South, for building infrastructure in every part of the country. Attacked me for creating a hospital for sick children. Sick children. Attacked us. And when you ask forgetful Rowley why he has not done anything, he says, well, Kamala had more money. What we left you, I just shared with you. The billions we left you there just in reserves. I didn't have more money. What we did is we ran a better government than you could ever do. Let's look at this COVID money and count with me. Trinidad and Tobago, the government received just over $2.3 billion in international funding for COVID management. Where has that money gone? $2.3 billion from international funds. April 3rd, 2020, US $400,000 from CAF, that's the Andean Development Bank. That was 2.8 million TT dollars. April 15, 2020, another US 50 million from CAF, that was 350 million TT. April 24, 2020, US 950,000 from CDC, US, another 6.7 million TT dollars. June 29, 2020, another US 150 million from CAF, working out to be just over 1 billion TT. July 2nd, 2020, US 100 million from the IDB, equal to about 700 million TT dollars. July 7, 2020, US 20 million from the World Bank, another 140 million TT. This brings us, as I said, a sum total of $2.3 billion. And this does not include another $9 billion that they withdrew from the HSF. You remember that? Where has all this money gone? Who benefited from this? We need answers, and we will file under the FOIA to get answers to these questions. So in March 25, 2020, they drew down US 1.1 billion, about 9 billion TT dollars from the HSF fund to manage COVID. They told us that. They told us that in the Parliament. That is a total of 12 billion TT dollars. What was this money spent on? That initial total of 2.3 billion and 9 billion drawn down from the HSF. Where has it gone? That's plenty money, you know. Plenty money, and all of this is in 2020, in 1 year. Where has it gone? What was it spent on? Which health system improved? Did you bring back our citizens from all these countries where they were suffering? Did you repatriate anyone? How many tests were done? Did the larger part of the population receive grants? Did small businesses receive aid? Were essential workers compensated? How many laptops provided by the government for children? Where was the money spent? Stop playing, you all forget this, and tell us the truth, because we are coming for you. We will go to court if we have to, wait on FOIA and then to court to find out where you spend these billions of dollars for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I close now to tell you, after listening to that press conference this morning, it was, as I always tell, like pulling teeth, you know, but so let me listen to this. It has now become clear that Rowley and his government are completely out of touch. Completely out of touch. They're not listening to the concerns. We face all these challenges. And I say, let us unite together, work together to stop the P&M eater food aristocracy and get back Trinidad and Tobago for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The longer they stay, the more people suffer. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to invite you, my constituents of Superior will be hosting a cricket tournament from Friday. Check my Facebook, we have it posted up with the flyer and the times and place. And you can win big money if you enter your teams. So please, you come into that. Well, I heard Kuva say they win already, but I don't know about that. We know how Shogonas win already, so let's get everybody will be winners. So please check my Facebook and you will get the postings on that. As I close, I want to thank a very valued member of our virtual report production crew, Alderman Kevin Gibbs. A very happy birthday, Kevin. Thank you. God bless you all. Go safe. Thank you all very much.
Together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy, and this revolution is about stopping this creeping dictatorship. This is the people's revolution.
Come on, people. Come on, people.
The voice of the people is the voice of God. The tables are turning, your eyes are opening. Welcome to the revolution.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom.